All right, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for coming out to the panel. Private is the new public. Give you just a quick kind of cursory thing of who am I. So I've spent 8 years in the social marketing space. 6 of those years were on the brand side, and now 2 of those on the agency side. I have the years that I spent on the brand side were in the coffee industry, and I spent a lot of that time building up social channels and social strategies for these brands and helping them communicate and connect with their audience on a regular basis. Now on the agency side, I do the exact same thing. I try to create genuine engagement on the social space between brands and consumers, which is a little bit challenging, but I think that it can be done, and it can be done in a real and relevant way. Who are these folks? So I'd like to give a quick introduction of the folks who are to my left, or depending on where you're at, my right. Chef Hugh Acheson. So I have known of Hugh Acheson for more than 15 years. When a good friend of mine, one of my best friends in Athens, went to work for Hugh at 5 and 10, Steve Grubbs, who's now his head sommelier and is one of the best sommeliers in the country. He's a James Beard nominated sommelier, and I credit that to Hugh's mentorship in his life and his leadership. And so I've known about him and appreciated and respected his work and his personality for many, many, many years. And so Chef Hugh Acheson, so give Chef a hand. I don't like to go into all the other stuff, the Top Chef judgy stuff. He is an acclaimed chef. His book has just come out very recently, and I highly recommend that you go pick it up right after this session. Kyle Tibbs Jones. So I do this little thing. How many of you have heard of my 2D to 3D project thing? Raise your hand. Okay, perfect. There's a good many of you. So Kyle is someone who lots of my friends said, you have to meet this lady. She is an amazing personality here in Atlanta, and I think you guys would really get along. And so I invited her for a 2D to 3D coffee last year, and it changed my life. I've never been the same since. She is an amazingly inspiring person. She spent a lot of years in media in Atlanta. She is a lover of all things, not just Atlanta, but the South. She helped start The Bitter Southerner, which is an amazing project. I think it's the best project that is capturing the essence of Southern culture out there, period, today. If you can go to their website, they post some of the most amazing and gripping stories of the South. I think they're really doing a better job of capturing the South than anything else that's out there. So Kyle Tibbs Jones of The Bitter Southerner. Nick Karst, who's rocking the man bun today. So Nick and I go back quite a ways. I saw the story of Stephen and Nick Karst on some show, and I was infatuated with the idea that these guys just said, you know what, I really want to spend my life doing what I love to do. And so they threw all of their kind of corporate stuff down, and they said, we're going to do what we love to do. And they started King of Pops. It's an amazing story. It's been inspiring to me personally. Nick and I worked together on a line of coffee pops when I was at Batdorf Coffee, and I got to work personally with him, and I admire and respect him tremendously. Nick Karst with one of the most beloved brands in Atlanta, King of Pops. And then last but not least, my elder brother, Kyle Brooks of Black Cat Tips. So you have seen Kyle Brooks's art all over Atlanta. You may have seen a sign at the end of the road that said, Odd Ends, and ends was spelled E-N-N-D-Z. And you thought to yourself, that's misspelled. Well, there's a reason why. It's because Kyle likes to do that. You might have seen his bears or rabbits on the Beltline. He has art projects on the Beltline. He has art projects on your driveway. If you If you follow him around, you will find art all over this city. He's an amazing, just an amazing contribution to the city on the whole. Everything that he does makes me smile, and I'm sure Atlantans all over the city feel the same way. He does it all because he loves this city, and I give a warm welcome to Kyle Brooks, Black Cat Tips. Kyle and I met at a coffee event that I was leading, and it actually was a Miracle Berry event that I was leading with Scout Mob, and I saw his beard, and we started talking about beards, and we've been brothers ever since. He's somebody I consider one of my best friends here in Atlanta, and I mean, just the beard alone is worth the price of admission. He also has work up at the High Museum of Art. He did some work for Coca-Cola, and he does work for Georgia Conservancy.
It's actually, is this on yet?
It's on.
It's actually at the World of Coke Museum. I just want to specify.
At the World of Coke Museum.
Everything else he said is true.
Yeah, especially the beard. So that's who these folks are, and the reason why I chose them well, that was odd. The reason why I chose them for this panel is because what you see here are 4 of the people who I most respect in this city, who are not only savvy business people, but are all savvy social people in different ways. They run the gamut from extremes on how often they use social media and how they use social media, but they're people who I admire and respect greatly, and I thought they'd be great for this session. So, to go into a little bit of background about this session, so private is the new public. So if you think about it, the lines of your personal life and private life get blurred every day by social media. When I was doing social media for Batdorf Coffee, who provided the coffee that you saw out here, I was the brand voice and tone, right? And everything that I posted from my personal, people attributed that to the brand. Whether I liked it or not, everything that I said related back to Batdorf and Bronson coffee. And it didn't matter if it was the roastery here or Atlanta or Dancing Goats, but everything that I said was directly connected to the brand. And now that I'm at an agency, everything that I say is related back to the agency that I work for and the clients that I work with. So when I was at Engage, I was managing social media for 3 Coca-Cola brands. Everything that I said on my own personal social became a lot more, targeted, a lot more microscopic, in a sense that everything that I said, people were looking at, making sure that I didn't say anything stupid because I was doing work for the largest brand in the world. Or when I was managing social for Chick-fil-A, it was the exact same thing. I had to be careful of what I said because my client is one of the most conservative companies in the world, right? So the lines of private and personal get blurred every day. And the reason why I invited these folks up is because they do a good job of their personal and their private as well, although some of them don't necessarily handle all of their own business accounts. Everything they do is connected. So I'm interested at this new dynamic that we have where everything is connected and nothing that you do is really private unless you mark your Facebook page to private and you don't let anybody see it except for a select few. You protect all of your tweets. Nobody really wants to live that way. And I know that one thing that I admire a lot about Hugh is that he's pretty open and honest and transparent, and what you see is what you get. It's a lot like myself. I don't like to sugarcoat things, and I don't like to put on a facade. I feel like Hugh does a good job of just like what you see is what you get. And I've always really admired that. And so that's one way to use social media. Then you have other people who are just like, I don't like to do it at all because I don't really want people knowing what I had for dinner. And that's Kyle. Kyle's like, you know what? I don't want people to know what I had for dinner.
My dinner.
That's his dinner, right? He doesn't want to invite you into dinner. So with that being said, I did a little fun exercise last night where I went through each of their Twitter accounts, and I found some interesting and fun tweets that kind of symbolize what this class is about. And not to pick on Hugh, because it's not to pick on him. I'm going to start with him. But this is a tweet exchange that happened in July over the Confederate flag thing. And, I love people that take stands and just like stand by it and fight for it. That's the way that I am. And so again, I actually really admired this, taking the bravado and the guts to do something like this, because there's not a lot of people who do. There's a lot of people that are so worried about their image that they don't say or do anything. And I'm not that way, and neither is Hugh. So let's look at, and warning, there is profanity in here. If you are against profanity, you might not want to read this. I'll give you a couple of minutes on this one to take it all in.
Bless your heart.
Let me know when you guys are all done. What's that? The bottom?
You can read the first one, so I'm not going to read that out loud. But it basically gets down with his last response to me is, as I said, dialogue, not silence. Name calling doesn't solve anything. You're better than that. And I said, do you really want to do this? Because you're going to look silly in the end. Because it was, whatever. Jim Crow bullshit about, whatever.
Exactly. So just FYI, and I hope that if you take anything away from this panel, that you take this away. Never, ever, ever engage in a Twitter battle against Hugh Acheson, because I've seen the record. It's like 540 to nothing, literally. I saw a great interaction with the guy from the flagpole, who basically was blasting him for not supporting local, and Hugh was like, "This is you're messing with the wrong hornet's nest. Like this is not going to end well for you." And he had a point. And that's the thing, is that he has his thing and he stands behind it and he's willing to speak up for it, which I admire greatly. But you can see that as a business owner, that may affect your business, right? To me, it affects it in a good way, because it lets people know that obviously he's taking a direct stance from his own personal Twitter against racism and everything that these people stand for, which you kind of have to do these days. There's just too much kind of up in the air stuff. So I went through and looked for some other stuff. Kyle Tibbs Jones, she's a pretty positive person, I think, on Twitter. I couldn't find anything incredibly negative. I did find what I love about rain. My neighbors put their leaf blowers in a closet. Hope her neighbors are on Twitter. Then the second one I actually thought it was great. It said, a psychiatrist just sent me a LinkedIn invite and I'm pondering how that makes me feel, which is great. Then Mr. Kars on the bottom, he's doing it right. All of his stuff is very positive, posy vibes, as they say. He said, week-old banana nut muffins are not the bomb. This is from 2010. Keep in mind, he's matured greatly. Yeah, exactly. And then the last one was, it wouldn't be Woodruff Park without middle-aged belly dancers and the APD horse training. Oh yeah, the crazy Jesus people. So I included that tweet in there because you can imagine people who are very conservative Christians may say, what does he mean by Jesus people? Does he not like Christianity? Does he not like Christians? I don't know that I want to support a company like this. And people could go back all the way to 2010 and hold him for these actions, right? Which is kind of silly because, it was a long time ago, and it's not necessarily saying anything specific. But people will and do take that stuff and they explode it out and they make it into something that it's not, and it's not necessarily fair, nor is it right. But that's social media. And then the last one, I tried to find something kind of negative or risque or angry from Kyle Brooks, who's Black Cat Tips. And the guy is literally, he's got to be the most positive guy on the planet.
Actually, you missed him. I get real drunk sometimes and write real bad stuff, and then the next day I'm like, oh, man.
Oh, he deleted them. That's why I didn't see him. He deleted them. But this is the angriest that I could find.
But I got a smiley face for my little logo there. I can't get to it.
Yeah. So as you can see, it was kind of difficult. But you can see that these things are all connected to our businesses, and they're connected. They have to be, because again, there are no lines between private and personal. Everything that we do connects to our business, and when it's social media, it's exponentially worse. So what I like to do is just we'll ask some questions, and we'll have a little bit of fun. Everybody on?
No, let's sit up. Now, green on.
Hello.
Not on.
We can't do anything about that.
Clip it to your beard.
Move it up.
Yeah. He could clip it to his hat.
We'll get it. Y'all keep talking. There's a big beard in the way. Okay, I'm here now. Everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm here too.
So
I'm here.
So we're going to start off with some softballs, and these are some good ones. But what are your own personal favorite social media platforms? And I'll start with Man Bun.
Well, it's obviously not Twitter. I haven't posted on there since 2010. It's just not really big in that game. Probably didn't take you too long to dig up those tweets.
Didn't take you long at all.
5 between then and now. And I guess that's just more of the conversation and the time aspect of it. I don't get into those conversations as much as maybe I could or should. But my favorite is probably Instagram at this point. I think it's easy, straightforward. I like the visual aspect of it. So that's what I plan to use.
I love them all for different reasons. Personally, I'm really into Instagram, and it's been really great for Bitter Southerner. Like we've doubled our followers in like the last month or so. I mean, I love Instagram. But Facebook has really grown our audience overall, and it's good for that. And Twitter is a way to connect with other influencers in the press. And so I like them all for different reasons, but I'm going to do
Yeah. I got one you might not have heard of.
Get on my train here. It's called MySpace. I love it so
Let me
much.
see if there's an app for
You
that.
can put anything on there.
But after MySpace, I like Instagram. And I used to like it because I just really like taking pictures. But, it's all changed a little. So I like that.
And then I like Twitter, because I feel like even though you didn't see it on Twitter, I feel like I can do more just conversating and comments. It's like Instagram, I try to be a little more official. And then with my Facebook, I got really upset with Facebook, and I changed my personal page to a made-up name. So I just have my art page. What's a made-up name? I'll tell you. I'm not gonna be your friend. I know what it is. I'll tell you, it's Raoul Miller, but don't friend me.
Raoul Miller.
Raoul Miller.
But don't friend me.
But I would just pretty much use Facebook to just mirror some of the other posts from the others. But yes, that's my long answer.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I use Twitter more than anything. I like Instagram a lot, but for me, what I do, it's very, very different. I use Instagram for pictures of food and travels and art pictures and things like that. And it's much more visual. And Twitter, I'm just a smartass on. I'm not a smartass on Instagram. So if you want a tasteful accounting of my life, that's the one you should go to.
No, I love it. It said, please follow me on Instagram for pictures of squash.
There you go.
Exactly what the tweet said. And I'd have followed that account. So, I like how you use it as a conversation. Like it is, that's the thing, is that social media is a conversation. It's not a one-way thing, and you use it as a conversation to talk back and forth to people. You're very accessible. You share, I know personally, like I was going to Chicago, and I said, hey, where should I eat? You said Au Cheval for burgers. And, it's definitely go to Au Cheval for burgers. I get there early because the line gets long, but the burger is ridiculous. And he told me that via Twitter.
But I think that if you want to be engaged in Twitter, that's great. It's either you're super engaged in it or you shouldn't be at all. Because if you're representing a brand, if you're representing businesses, if you're like me and represent a number of businesses and books and stuff like that, you're making yourself accessible. And if people can't get a hold of you via that outlet, they hold it against you. So you want to be, that's where you see growth, I think, is in response and in authentic engagement with people.
Right.
Can I say one thing about Instagram too? I think that it's changing as far as the conversation on Instagram goes. One thing we're doing at the Bitter Southerner, we added a new stream of content, and it's on Sunday mornings. We have something called Rise and Shine, and we do these short little stories, and then we ask people on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to share their version of whatever we're talking about. And I cannot believe how it's growing. Like every Sunday, we have a special hashtag and people put their stories on there, and people really are starting to converse on Instagram more than in the past, so I think that's changed a little bit.
Yeah, I second that. On King of Pop side of things, we get more comments on Instagram than anything, and we do engage and like and retweet on Twitter. I don't do it personally, but King of Pops does it a lot. And on Instagram, we had like a question and answer with Steven, my co-founder, and that went back and forth, like, hundreds of comments. And then we asked for Halloween flavors or something like that and get, hundreds of comments. So
Pumpkin spice.
Yeah, and you can
that
do.
is original.
We love the repost app too. On for Instagram, you can use repost and repost people's Instagrams, and it's a way to really endear yourself to your followers and to engage with folks.
Yeah, definitely for a brand, reposting those Instagram things is, we in the business, we call it UGC, or user-generated content, and use that stuff and leverage it as much as possible. I know that I take mad, crazy photos of food everywhere I go, and I love it when restaurants can reuse that, because honestly, that shows brand loyalty. It shows appreciation for the work that they do, and so that's why I started the food blog that I have, eatlanta.net, was just in a way to show appreciation for the chefs and the restaurants that work so hard in our city. So with that being said, how often do you find yourself on social media, and should you seek therapy for it?
I need the therapy. And I need a lot of therapy, but I need that. You got to use it, right? Every day I want to use it, but sometimes I just got to put that thing down. And I'm the one managing most of it, and I want to be relevant and keep people up to date. But I do a lot of self-imposed rules on myself. But I was like, all right, I'm not going to touch it for 3 hours.
And then you break them.
Or I'm over there painting, and I'm like, oh, let me see. Hear a noise. You got to go check it. Or the light hit something right, I got to show it again. But I don't want to show you too many pictures either. We don't want burnout. That's a long answer, too.
Yeah, I like it. Anybody?
Well, I think for King of Pops, for the public side of things, then we feel like we need to post at least a couple times a day on pretty much every platform, just to keep engagement. So we have thought about it, and I'm not too involved in this, but or not on a daily basis anyway. But something about what we are, what we're doing, and then something also just kind of fun that's not really related to what exactly we're doing. So something popsicle related, something not popsicle related. And I think that's where it really gets into the essence of what this talk is that people are more engaged with you if they see inside of the company and see us, what we're doing on a daily basis. Whether it's fun or not, those are the best responses to post, pretty much always.
I personally am a fan of the four of you personally before professionally. And I find that I'm thinking of someone in town specifically who is in the food industry, and I don't really care for them, honestly, and I don't really eat at their restaurants because of it. And it's because I don't really necessarily respect them as people. I find that my money follows how I respect them as individuals. So I agree with that completely. And that also falls in line with, social media. In social media strategy, we talk about the rule of thirds. Somebody mentioned it yesterday, 80-20, 80% content that doesn't necessarily promote the brand and 20% that does. There's also the rule of thirds, which is, a third of the content is about selling, and then the remaining 2/3 actually would be non-related to selling. And that's a hard sell to clients, I'll tell you. I've got a client that they're like, rule of thirds, great. 2/3 of it, actually 80% of it should be about selling our products, and 20% should be about other things. And they don't get that, but you do have to maintain. I like the things that King of Pops does with the yoga. They post pictures of the yoga, and if you're in the photo and they tag you, they say the winner is the girl with the purple leotards. She wins, and that's good engagement, right? Do you have separate social media channels for your business and work accounts connected to you? And I think we know the answer to these.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't anymore. Just the art thing.
So do you think that makes it a little harder? And Raul.
Raul's on the down low, or he was until today.
Yeah.
Do you find that is a little harder to? Do you find that that's a little harder, or does it put any more pressure on you, knowing that you only have one outlet to kind of share that stuff?
Well, there's a lot I'd like to share just about me, but if I'm just doing it all, it's just a lot of work. So I just have to kind of whittle that down to just what I want to concentrate on. Because I might see a pretty bug over here, or maybe I did eat something neat that I wanted to share with you online.
He usually text messages me those pictures.
I just made that decision since I'm doing it all for myself to just concentrate.
It's so different for everyone. I mean, many of you probably work for a corporation, or some of you have your own business, or maybe you're an artist like Kyle. It's all different. I am on social media so much that I do need help, or a boyfriend, something to distract me. Like, all I do is like Bitter Southerner and Kyle, social media. So it's, it would be weird if I were just Bitter Southerner, because I love fashion and I love art and I love things that, the Bitter Southerner wouldn't really post about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, one little difference though. I am the art, and the art is
No,
me.
it is totally right
If
for
I
you.
work for so-and-so art corporation, it's just, I'm more involved in it. I mean, you made Bitter Southerner, but it's a little bit separate.
A little bit separate. That's what I'm saying. These folks out here all have different situations, and you have to decide, like how much you really, if you love social media, get in it with your personal self if you have to, keep your business separate, because it's a lot of fun. And I always tell people who are just starting, and I know none of y'all are just starting in social media, but practice with your own accounts. Get out there and engage with people and like see what it's like, and experiment on new platforms with your personal account before you jump in with your livelihoods.
Hugh actually has a separate account. I found out about it. It's called Hush Puppy King.
Hush Puppy King.
Hush Puppy King.
No, I mean, all the restaurants have their own social media stuff, and I mean, mine's kind of separate. I mean, obviously it's associated with the businesses. I can't separate that ever. But, my personal thing, I wouldn't say it's the rule of thirds. I would say it's the rule of sixteenths, and I'd probably talk about business about 1/16 of all the other blathering I do online on social. So there's some newer ones that I like. My kids do Snapchat, so I don't do Snapchat. I do Periscope, and that had huge impact. We did a big one in Savannah recently. It was like 20 minutes, and it got watched like 38,000 times. I mean, it was like crazy. And they're only up there for a day, but the impact of it can be huge. So, but that was pretty scripted, and that was working directly with Twitter to get the engagement out there.
Yeah, I saw Tony Hawk do a web stream on Facebook. Facebook has allowed live streaming on their page, and Tony Hawk did an exclusive skate session at his ramp house on Facebook. And it's interesting, you talk about like Periscope, it's how we can use those mediums like that to do real-time web, bringing people into the action as it's happening, social media.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kyle.
I was just going to say about the 1/16. When I've had private clients and helped them understand how to create a social media presence, we draw this like pie, and I always get made fun of for saying pie.
I like pie.
Or a brand wheel. I'm trying to be so, anyway. And in that wheel, like if it were me, this much of that pie would be, or this, half of it would be Bitter Southerner, a big quarter of it, I'm a mom. And then, that other part is fashion and movies and film and literature and all the things that I love. And that's what makes up my social media feed. So if you look at half of what I do, and my presence in this world is Bitter Southerner is my calling. After all these years of doing a lot of different things in communication, this is a calling to me. So it's a lot of who I am. And so a lot of my tweets or Instagrams or Facebook posts will be about that. But then you're also going to find my kids. You're going to find fashion and art and all the things that I love. So
Yeah.
it's not thirds for me either. I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me too. Like King of Pops has been like pretty much who I am and what I am for the past 5 years at least. So whether it's out of the farm, like, working in the dirt, or whether it's dressing up as an elf as a Christmas tree. Like, those are all hilarious things that people might or might not relate to King of Pops, but they still are. Like, so a lot of my personal is related.
Yeah, I like Hugh's advice about if you run a business and you run the social media, only be on the social media accounts that you can manage accurately and consistently on a daily basis. If you're only going to post on there once a year, then don't have that channel. All right, it's put your efforts into where you are going to be, and that's dependent on where your audience is. So you need to know where your audience. Where your target audience and fans are. So, for instance, Kyle, his art is photographic, right? And you're going to see photos and stuff. So obviously, Instagram is going to be a huge channel for him. So if he just said, you know what, I'm not going to do Twitter, I'm not going to do Facebook, I'm just going to do Instagram, then for him that may be a really good call because he knows where his audience is and he's only putting the efforts into that one place. So only manage and maintain the social media channels that you can consistently take care of on a regular basis, or just don't have them at all. If the last video that your brand company posted was on YouTube was a year ago, you know what? Just don't fool with it. I mean, people want to see consistent posting, which is why, Nick was saying they post at least a couple times a day. You want to remind people that you're there. And honestly, with Facebook's organic reach, you have to post a few times for people to even see it. So that's a good one. Do you think there should be a separation between your personal online world and your professional world on social media? I think I know the answers to these.
For me, it's not. So I don't really know. I don't really hide anything in my personal that's not available in the professional or in the business side of things. So I'm pretty much an open book on both of them. The 1-800 Real Mad, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That was a really tough one.
That was a good one.
Yeah. I don't know. Not for me.
Well, I do keep it, part of it sheltered, I guess, or hidden away, but I don't sell food. I mean, my art is me, and it's what I make, and it reflects me, and I am the art. And so, to some extent, I try to put myself out there. It's a tricky thing. I don't want to tell you too much personal stuff. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that would be good, but I have to. I'm just a big blended pot of art and me and my business and
Music.
I mean, I sell the art, I make the art comes out of my head.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Is like you don't really know how it would be different if you did it differently. Mm-hmm. And so for us, I think it's always been that we get better response the more personal stuff we post, but then also how much of that do you want to share? Like, and is it really necessary? I think generally your fans or likers or whatever want to see that stuff, but whether it's appropriate or not.
I think there's a difference between being transparent and being honest about who you are and oversharing. Like, I really don't want to know. Well, I'm not even going to give you an example.
No, give us an example. No, you have to.
Well, I will tell you something that's going on in my life right now. Somebody in my family is really hurting. And I walked in today and I was like, I'm really flat. I hope I can even be, engage with you guys today. But that's not something I would put on any of my platforms, and that's personal. And here's the flip side of that. The election's coming up. I am very passionate about some things in politics. I better keep that over there on my personal account and not put it on Bitter Southerner. But you read 2 sentences in the Bitter Southerner and you can kind of know where we land on things. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a big secret, but I'm not just going to blab about that kind of thing. Maybe on my personal account, but I'm even going to be careful there about that. Maybe it's because I grew up in traditional media and I still have a little bit of that in me to be a little bit careful. You over here. But I did post some rebel flags on the back of a truck on my Instagram account a couple of months ago, and I was like, I want to jerk that guy, I want to jerk him out of that truck and talk to him. I want to pull him over like a policeman, excuse me. So I do say some things, but I just think you have to be a little more thoughtful about it. a month.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference between showing your personality and showing everything.
Everything.
You know, there's still privacy in my world. I just have a pretty outgoing personality. I take a lot of stands in life, and I say a lot of opinions in life. But that's who I am, too. So I think what everybody needs to be on social media is just themselves, because you can read through BS really easily. Even in the world of chefdom, I can tell which chefs do their own accounts and which chefs have some PR company out of New York do it, who's so distanced from the reality of that chef's just syntax and how they use words, how they write things, just the cadence to which they would say humor or try and get stuff out there. That's natural. And mine comes off as natural, at least not Facebook. Somebody does that for me, because I've never actually figured out Facebook. Don't ask. I'm not a moron. I just never really spent any time on it. So, but people want to see authenticity, right? I think we're in an age where authenticity really matters. And I don't think you have to see pictures of my toenails to see that I'm authentic. But I will post one later.
Yeah, if you want some entertainment,
I do
follow
not like
Hugh's
toe
account
pictures. No
during any of the
toes.
debates. The GOP debate,
Actually, with engagement and picking up followers, if I live tweet something as a running sort of commentary on something, I was up too late. I was in Europe, and I was watching CNN, and so it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and the first debate on the Republican side came on, but it was the juniors, like the kids' table debate. And I forget, I mean, it was like Lindsey Graham and a number of other people. And so I woke up the next day, a couple of glasses of wine, but I woke up the next day and I tweeted like 85 times, and it was just like tons of crazy back and forth. And I mean, it was real engagement. I had also picked up about 600 followers. But that's activity. People want to read that, and you know, if you don't want to read my political commentary, you probably should not follow me on Twitter, which comes up a lot. You know, people. You can't get mad at people. You've chosen to follow them. You can disagree with them and have a qualified debate and understanding, but you've chosen to follow them. It is not, you shouldn't use it to insult people. It's a place where you can debate or you can agree, but you're looking for insight, and that's why, into somebody's personality, and that's why you follow them.
it's in this day and age where it's so easy to follow or unfollow someone. I always say, listen, if you don't like me or you don't like the content that I post out, just unfollow me or unfriend me. That's the easiest way to solve that, really. And that's where, as a brand and managing social for a brand, you do have to be a little bit more careful, because it is so easy to follow and unfollow people. And
I always say it's like real life. It's like being polite in real life.
Yep.
Like if you're at a cocktail party and somebody started like going off about something that you really hated or you would just quietly walk away and just, right? I mean, you wouldn't.
But we don't like to do that. We like to make a fuss. I'm leaving Facebook and I'm never coming back. I'm deactivating my account today. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, the worst is like waking up and like, why did you unfollow me? It's like, really? Really?
Yeah, really.
How did you figure that out?
It's not personal. I have a lot of friends who I'm friends with them in real life and just not so much on social media. I have people that I work with that are the same way, and it's because it's a different thing.
Yeah, we had kind of a big one about that when the ruling on gay marriage came out, and we posted something that said like our rainbow umbrella, and that's kind of always been our calling or whatever anyway. But there was more meaning behind it, and that was us letting our personalities shine through to some extent. But there was like hundreds of comments, like people going back and forth about never buying popsicles again because of that post, and like
which brings up a really important thing. Look, I don't want Empire State South blathering on about politics, but I'm a business owner. But just because I've got a business owner doesn't mean I surrender my ethics or my political beliefs at the door. It doesn't mean I can't share them with you. You don't have to, again, agree with me. But going to a restaurant is not a political act. The fact that I agree with gay marriage is my own political statement and my own choice in this world. It's got nothing to do with the restaurant. We serve food. You sell popsicles, it's not a contentious issue. But we're humans as well. But sometimes because I own businesses, people think that I should not have a viewpoint on these things. And that's where I definitely draw a line in the sand that we're not going to agree. So
And that's the question that I was getting ready to ask is, have you experienced a situation where your personal social media conversations or comments affected your professional business in some way? And it's exactly right.
Yes and no. I think that sometimes taking a stand like you did on the gay marriage issue, I think was going to benefit you. Look, there's so many sort of outdated views in this world, and as long as we're being progressive in our viewpoints, we're going to win in the long run. If I lose a couple of people clinging on to racist ideas because they still fly the flag, well, fuck them. I don't give a shit. Sorry. It's like, this is I create this stuff. I'm not going to say that you can't eat in the restaurant if you do that. The restaurant's free. That's fine. But, if you don't come there because I said something about the rebel flag, that's just stupid.
Agreed.
Okay, so my Hugh is Chuck Reese, my editor-in-chief. I'm like, Chuck, don't you touch Twitter today. But you do not, because he'll like hop.
I love Chuck Reese.
He used to hop on there and like, there'd be 29 expletives, and I'd be like, oh my God. So I'm the director of the family dynamic at the Bitter Southerner. That's what Chuck says. I'm like, don't you? But yeah, just be yourself. If it's yourself to say, get off my porch or do whatever, say get off my porch.
Dick lice.
Dick lice, whatever it takes. Yeah. Whatever it
Just said it. I'm
takes.
sorry.
Be yourself.
Said it.
But I'll tell you this too. You come to my Facebook page, and when I say the Bitter Southerner Facebook page, and start raising a ruckus, I will ban you. You start talking about and causing like a bunch of, healthy debate is one thing, being really hateful and talking about.
Disrespectful.
Yeah, and disrespectful, just, you're gone.
See, I don't want, in my personal life, stop watching TV, stop reading the news. I used to be so into all of it. I don't want to hear it. It makes me upset. All of it's too much. So, on my social media, I kind of do the same. Because if he says something, he can say it. I might not want to hear it. I might not want to hear this or that, but they can still say it. I don't want to say it. So that's kind of helps tweak what I do. Because, I don't know. I really don't, I don't think that part of me, I don't think you need to necessarily know. Or if you think a paint is pretty, I just don't want to share that because I don't want to soak it up so much anymore myself. I had there was an issue not long ago, and this guy, I know this artist, posted this picture. He was trying to get in on this topic, and I'd had enough that day. I was calling my mad therapist, and so I turned him off. He commented on something I posted later, just with a sad face. And he never comments on my stuff, or rarely, so I knew it was that, so man, I ended up emailing him, like, look, I didn't really want to read what you wrote. I'm a little crazy. I had a crazy afternoon. That's why I did it. And then I felt guilty because we work together sometimes. React.
Raoul
This is the
Miller.
sweetest guy ever.
The number of hours we can lose to a sad face is amazing.
It's still the whole complexity of that. I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I don't want to look at the local news anymore or all that stuff. But that's me.
Kyle, you're the sweetest.
I am not.
Yeah, you are.
So our current president is Barack Obama. King of Pops is. I feel like I need to catch you up on news. Texas, yeah, Florida. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced when it comes to social media and running a successful business at the same time?
I think for us it's just doing enough of it. So we have King of Pops in I think 6 or 7 cities now, all with separate accounts. So that's like at least Facebook and Instagram, if not Twitter and Snapchat and all those places. And then we have like a farm account, we have a distribution company account, we have Tree Elves account, like all these things that we're trying. And so paying attention to any of them enough, like King of Pops, the main at King of Pops is doing well, but being able to pay attention to the rest of them is certainly a challenge. And so, and posting, interesting or different enough content on each of them to make them worthwhile. So we've definitely debated whether it's worth it even having separate ones broken out for each city. And the way we originally used social media was to inform our fans or customers like where we were, what we were selling that day, and
I remember those
something else.
days.
Yeah, so it's like posting a picture of the menu board or something like that. Now we're just doing too much to be able to post the flavors of the day kind of thing. And so to generate enough content for all those and have enough people who are interested in making it happen without their other 18 or 50 responsibilities of the day has been really difficult.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for me to get all the restaurants on the same page in the same style on posts and things like that. So we're kind of going through a style overhaul. Like, I want this filter all the time. This is your standard food shot. Because otherwise, it's like when we used to have these old blackboards of the original 5 and 10, and the specials were written on them. And originally we had this kid who worked there, who's actually a big Atlanta artist named Jordan Noel, who had the most amazing handwriting. It was beautiful, it was cool, it was iconic, it became part of the restaurant. I mean, that was the specials and the menu, it was exciting, it was beautiful. And then Jordan leaves after a number of years and somebody starts doing it who can barely write their name, and it looks horrible. So in the same way, you start something that's visually engaging and beautiful, and it's stylistic because it's your voice, and then you need to continue that, but as you grow, it's really hard to do 7 accounts that all have your voice. So you need to find the other artistic people within your businesses and really give them responsibility and raise them up, but make sure they're saying it in a way that makes sense. I mean, when you have multiple accounts, it's hard because you kind of have to unify the voice, and that's a lot of meetings and a lot of reminders to people that one post about your cat, but why?
Like Billy Reed, for instance, just took all of his stores away, and now he has one account. So like people go back and forth on
Yeah, see? Yeah. That's...
I was going to say that I am the voice and the tone and the everything, on all the platforms for Bitter Southerner. I am, and we've now launched like more streams of content. So literally, and we're trying to grow. We're 2 years old, and we're talking to investors and academic institutions, and trying to figure out how to grow our staff. But I would say that from a growth of your brand and especially if you're a small startup, just try to save yourself and have a little bit of a life. You can do so much, and you have to. You're not very good in social if you don't have a rich life outside of social. So, because it just turns into blah blah blah. Yeah.
Sometimes you see the leaves changing. You don't always need to post about that.
I did that the other
That's a
day.
philosophical point.
I did that the other day from Boone, North Carolina.
Yeah, well, I wasn't
Sorry.
exactly talking about you, but
Sorry.
maybe it is applicable.
I'm just
I bet
keeping
it
it
was
real.
beautiful, Jason.
It was beautiful.
Completely
It's the
different.
most beautiful orange you'll ever see. I'm sorry. But they bring up a really good point in that, and this is something that I experienced from an agency perspective for brands, is that there is a really fine line and balance between keeping some sort of individuality for these different places. And if you're a restaurant and you've got a restaurant in Atlanta, it's going to sound and look a little bit different than if it is in Wyoming. So I know that Ford Fry is opening a restaurant in Houston, I think. And so that restaurant will sound and look differently than his restaurants in Atlanta, right? And so you want to have some individuality to those because they're in different places, and you want to give them some sort of personality online, but at the same time, like Hugh said, you want some consistency too. And so there really is a fine line and a balance. I know that when I was managing social for Chick-fil-A, all of these local Chick-fil-A's have their own social channels, and they operate on their own, and it was a real big challenge to keep everyone talking about the same things and not talking about things too early, and making sure that what you say and what you post on your sign outside is connected to the overall brand. I know that there was a restaurant that posted a sign on their outdoor about some football team. It was an NFL football team, and about how the team sucked or something like that. And they got in some hot water over that because that individual store had their own ability to make those decisions. And when they have those decisions, obviously they Sometimes they're not necessarily lining up with what's up top. But there is a balance between that individuality and a consistent brand voice and tone, which is something that you guys have done a good job
Can
of.
I ask you a question? How many of you are on social for your company or for a company?
Wow.
That's a lot. And how many of you are in social for your own company?
Half.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. So these are dynamics that we deal with every day, and the dynamic of how do I do this and maintain some sort of like life outside of this, and it is an extreme challenge. As a successful business person, have you been stalked or dealt with a creepy situation that went too far on social media? Yes, Kyle.
Well, there's always going to be. Well, first I'll say a lot of people say good stuff, lift me up, make me laugh, good points, all sweet. Anyway, but then there's always these haters out there, and I used to get really upset, and it still get to me a little bit, but learn just to let that stuff go, and don't engage them, because I don't want to have a fight online. I could, but I don't want to. I don't want it to be there. No, I don't want a record of it. So I let it go. But I did have somebody that I still don't ever know why, and I'll just the basic details. But they they got mad at me and a couple of people, and it went on, and they started posting things online, hateful things about me and weird pictures and stuff. It went all the way down the road and ended up talking to the police about it. And then it came back and they got the message and they backed away, but it was freaking me out. They were getting, I don't know why, what their motivation was, but, and then they went out there and they wrote bad things and some things I had painted out beside the road and signs and stuff, but it was trying weeks, but.
Did you unfollow them? I would recommend that.
Yeah, I would recommend it.
Block.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just didn't like me, but it's okay.
That's not possible.
Oh, you.
It is.
Oh yeah.
But they, yeah, it was a weird situation. So I appreciate it if you don't write that stuff.
I'm not gonna write.
I had some woman threaten to kill me numerous times, and it was all about the Top Chef. It was like, this is years ago, and for some reason she really hated me. It is funny that people think they know everything about me if they watch me for 20 seconds on TV. But it turned out she lived like in Bogart, like right near my house. And I mean, she was like crazy threats. So I had to call NBC Security. NBC is the owner of Bravo, the network. And NBC Security got Twitter to pull the account down. She created another one. And it was a long saga.
She could have just unfollowed you.
There's some crazy ass people out there who have nothing better to do. Absolutely nothing better to do. Which is fine. You know, you have to be aware that that is going to happen. I am more than able to handle myself. I also have an absolutely beautiful 13-year-old daughter who I'm always constantly like terrified is going to get into trouble somehow on social media and put herself in a really bad position in social media. So, so the threats can be very real, and nothing's happened, we don't think, but,
It's bad.
Yeah, nothing personally, but we are always aware of making sure if we tag like our employees, like saying this person's going to be selling pops here or something like that, to either get their permission or say it's all right to post their image or whatever, because we do have a responsibility to our employees to keep them safe while they're at work, and for us work could be a street corner or a park or wherever where these crazy people could show up. So we're aware of it, but I don't think we've had any problems with it.
I've had stalkers in real life, and I've been shocked that I haven't had them online because my whole life is online. Like I just live out, like right out there, like we all do in this new age. So I've kind of been shocked. But here's something funny that happened. I was talking with someone on Facebook at some point about kindness, and that, like somebody had posted this really great thing, and I'm like, amen, sister, or whatever she said. And this person popped up and said, "You were really mean to me in 8th grade." And I was like, I don't remember her. I didn't, and I was just like, I am so sorry. So I sent her a direct message. I'm like, whatever I did in the 8th grade, I am really sorry. So that's like about the only thing, which is sort of a miracle since I live 24/7 online.
She could have just
I've
unfollowed
been lucky.
you in 8th grade.
What?
She could have just unfollowed you in 8th grade.
I know. Back in 8th grade when we barely had typewriters, we rode dinosaurs to work. Anyway, no. Yeah.
So I hate to say it, but we're gonna wrap things up. We will allow for a few questions before we finish. But let's give a round of applause to our amazing panel. So does anyone have? Wow, that was quick. Actually, I got a Snapchat and the question from him at the same time. Go ahead, Kevin.
I have two quick questions. I just wanted a pre-question. First of all, Kyle and Corey, he's wearing the exact same size.
Yeah, they are.
They're close.
They're slightly different.
And I almost wore a blue similar jacket.
And I almost grew a
We
beard.
will.
Has nothing to do with my actual question. What I'm curious about from each of you guys is the balance. So what we've talked about a lot, or what you guys have talked about a lot, is like, I'm doing what I do, take it or leave it, and that's awesome, right? I love that approach. I subscribe to that as well. But when do you want to get feedback? When do you want to hear back? And how does that affect your approach to, there's always a controversy between how many people follow you versus how many or who you follow back. So what's your approach to mining your audience and balancing that?
Liquor.
Thanks.
The inequity of followers to following is a big thing for me. So once every 30 days, I just pick one post and I follow everybody who liked it. It's not very scientific. And then I get a bunch of really weird people being like, "Thanks for following me. Why are you following?" And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I think that's in that way. And I forget the rest of your question. So yeah, carry on. It'll come back to me.
Yeah.
For King of Pops, I don't think that we follow very many people. Like, it's mostly brands that we follow instead of individuals, because I think our original thought is not to follow people because it would make other people feel bad if we didn't then follow everybody or something like that. And so I think King of Pops has something like, 18,000 followers, and I think we maybe follow 60 or something. So I don't know. We don't have a social media specialist, so don't know if that's the right approach, but it keeps growing. So
I will say, you follow people to be informed. Twitter is not just about, let's just talk about Twitter. Twitter is about, it could be your news feed. Like, for whatever you do in this world, you need to follow the people that matter to you, whether it's news organizations, or if you sell apples, then you follow other orchards and other, whatever. Like, it's your news feed. So the reason to follow people is so that you are enriched by that feed and you are in the know in your field. So if that means you follow 8,000 people, if it means you follow 8 people, just make it useful to you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then also following people helps you grow your account. So if you follow major influencers, as you're growing your Twitter follower or your whatever, Instagram, whatever, you follow people that are influencers who you can engage with, who will help you grow your audience. Then when you get big enough, you just follow people because, gosh, that person's nice and they said something. I like their attitude. I'm going to follow them. You know what I mean? Like, it just, because you can't keep up with everything if you get large enough.
It's good to be linked with a big name, somebody like you or retweet you or bond up with you. On the other hand, sometimes I'll go through, and if I haven't seen that somebody post anything in 10 months or a year, I don't remember, I might take them off because just whittle it down. I've said whittle twice. I haven't really whittled in a long time. And then I might on Instagram, I'll look at somebody that made a comment sometimes, and if they have really pretty pictures, I'll look at this chair, I might follow them. Well, they might just have a bunch of junk. I don't want to look at that, so I'll go on.
Then on other days, you know what I'll do? I don't want to look at it, so I'll have my phone and I'll turn it on to see if anybody sent me a message I need to see, and I'll just cover up the rest of it. And then, all right, put it back.
Is that an app?
It's a big flesh colored hand.
Well,
That's
Kevin,
a cat-
Kevin works at a
cat
mobile
tips app.
agency. He's
Yeah.
literally working on creating the app while we're talking about it
Or
right
like
now.
an old blind you can pull down.
Yeah,
That's what I'd like.
Kevin, he's already on that.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's a great question. Anybody else have a question? Yes.
So I haven't heard anybody mention anything about LinkedIn. And I think, sorry if I ramble again. I think that LinkedIn has a perception that it's just B2B. But there's been, studies that have shown that a lot of consumers now go to LinkedIn and follow brands. And there's not as much noise as some of these other platforms. Do you guys see the significance of LinkedIn?
Do you work for LinkedIn? Just checking. Can you stop sending me those emails? Actually, there's a class action lawsuit but it just got settled against LinkedIn, and they're going to be paying out a lot. I'm expecting
I
mine.
filled out mine.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a busy world in the number of social arenas that you can play with and get out there with. If there's a lot of brands going over to Snapchat right now to tell stories of their brands, and that sounds to me like a lot of time that you're going to invest in that. We can waste a lot of time by adapting new vehicles to get out our social message, but right now we're sticking to the two that we know and we do relatively well.
I'm going to say to every single person in this room, LinkedIn is important. It is your online resume. And as a brand, the Bitter Southerner rarely plays in LinkedIn, but like when we did our membership drop, we totally, I did a LinkedIn special post about what we were doing and how we were growing our content channels. If it's business related, it's a good spot to occasionally put a post for us. I mean, other people use it differently, but it's rare, and it has to be business oriented. I think we posted a story when we did that story about Southeast Air, things like that are business related.
Yes, Mr. Kaufman.
Talk about your employees. You all have lots of employee committees. How do you ever ask them to balance their offline lives, their online lives, and their personal and their public lives and social? Do you have any guidelines or things like that?
Many. I mean, if you're a waiter at a restaurant that I work at and you later comment on a customer that you didn't like, I'm going to fire you. There's just smarts. It's just, to me, it all comes down to one basic idea, which is common sense. And, if you're a cook in a kitchen complaining about something that's happening in the kitchen and you document that to your entire whatever, the world, it's not very bright. They're not written down rules, but yeah, it's common sense. I'm writing the book of common sense slowly.
A long time ago, I was a waiter at a restaurant downtown.
Mm-hmm.
The clientele would get real angry at me sometimes, or I get fake fired a lot.
By the clientele?
By the boss.
Yeah.
A couple of times he'd appease the.
Is that why you had to change your name?
Yep.
Raul Miller.
I managed anchors and reporters for a while. For 2 years, I had a short contract at WSB TV and got them kind of going in social and created a monster. No, I'm just kidding. But I had to manage anchors and reporters and help them figure out what they could do online, because a journalist needs to be neutral, and it's so hard. It's hard to manage other people, and it's not the easiest thing,
For us, we encourage it. We encourage all of our employees to post about King of Pops pretty much as they want. As long as they aren't, if a famous person or celebrity comes and buys a pop, don't take secret pictures and post those or something. But if they're up for it or whatever, we're fine with that too. I don't really monitor any of it and don't think it's ever been a problem. Actually, maybe 3 years ago, we had staff they had the ability to go on and just post whatever they wanted. And so there were some posts one night, like drunk posts on King of Pops from like a concert or something like that were probably pretty inappropriate. And so those got taken down. So that was the one time I think it backfired, but we don't let the employees post on the main page, but we encourage them all to use their own private stuff for.
It's always hard when your employees have to toggle back and forth between accounts and they've had a few beers.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm sorry to say, and I honestly mean this, I'm sorry to say that we're going to have to wrap this up. It's a little after 1. But I want to thank you all for coming to our panel today. Thanks again to our panelists who came.